Otherwise, the chances of ousting or jolting the incumbent are apt to be greatly diminished. Let me stop there for a second, because that's something we're seeing right now. Take a look at the presidential nominees on the Democratic side. We have people that are saying, oh, there's at least 4 progressives running, and then they name off Bernie Sanders, obviously. They name off Elizabeth Warren. They name Tulsi Gabbard. They name Marianne Williamson. In some circles, they'll also name Andrew Yang. Well, we're here to tell you, like we said last week, to find out if the steak is well done or if it's still medium rare and needs to be on the grill a little more, you have to cut into the meat. So we're just going to stop it right there and say, go ahead and cut into the meat of those 4. Let me continue this story. An example of a promising campaign to defeat a powerful corporate Democrat is emerging in Oregon's 5th Congressional District, where 6-term incumbent Kurt Schrader is facing a challenge in a slightly blue district that includes much of the Willamette Valley and the coast. The challenger is the mayor of the 20,000 population city of Milwaukee, Mark Gamba, who told us that Schrader, quote, likes to pretend that he's reaching across the aisle to get things done, but it almost always goes back to the corporations that back him financially, end of quote. Schrader, a longtime member of the Blue Dog Coalition, gets a lot of money from corporate interests, including from the Koch Industries PAC. Last year, only one House Democrat was ranked higher on key issues by the anti-union, anti-environment U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Gamba intends to make climate a central issue of the campaign to unseat Schrader, who he says, quote, has been notably absent on any substantive climate policy, end of quote. Only 4 House Democrats have a lower lifetime environmental score than Schrader. Gamba also supports Medicare for all, while he says his opponent, quote, is quietly but actively opposing Medicare for all or any law that actually cuts into the profits of the pharmaceutical and insurance industries, end of quote. A coalition of groups including National Nurses United, Healthcare for All Oregon Action, and Democratic Socialist of America has scheduled a rally in front of Schrader's Oregon City office on September 6th. The organizers say, quote, we should convince him how affordable and equitable Medicare for all will be. That's a direct quote. In the few months since Gamba announced his primary challenge to Schrader, voices of opposition to the incumbent have become more significant. Tom Chamberlain, the retiring Oregon AFL-CIO president, recently wrote this, quote, I have called out Congressman Kurt Schrader for his continuing record of voting against the needs of workers. On July 15, 2019, Schrader once again showed his corporate colors and voted against raising the federal minimum wage. I am always hopeful that a strong pro-worker candidate will emerge from Oregon's 5th Congressional District so we can show Schrader the door to retirement. End of quote. Among the top targets of the path-breaking group Justice Democrats is corporate-tied Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar, a Democrat in name only. No Democrat voted more frequently with Trump in 2017 and 18, and none had a higher ranking in 2018 from the Chamber of Commerce. One of the rare Democrats backed by the Koch Industries PAC, Cuellar is loved by the NRA and disliked by pro-choice groups and environmentalists. Although representing a predominantly Latino district with many immigrants and children of immigrants, he won praise from Fox Propaganda Channel for his hardline talk on deporting immigrant youths.
Sure, why not? Darren, if I can interrupt for just a second.
Sure.
You're talking about these Democrats in name only voting with the Republicans. I saw that our boy Chick Scummer, you know the guy from out east?
Yeah, Chuck Schumer?
Yeah, I call him Scummer. But anyway, Chuck guaranteed the Trump White House that he was going to push hard to get through all of Trump's judge nominees. I looked at that and I thought, how do you dare? I mean, I could see you doing it in the back room. How do you walk out and make an announcement of that? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And they go tit for tat, arm in arm. When a Democrat gets on a debate stage and says they're going to lean across the aisle, this is what they lean across the aisle and do.
Yeah, they're leaning across the aisle. They're reaching across the aisle to grab that corporate money.
That's it.
Yep.
They're in unison on that. They all agree on that.
They certainly do. I've got 2 more paragraphs here in this article. The good news is that Justice Democrats, which was instrumental in Ocasio-Cortez's stunning 2018 victory, is backing a primary challenge to Cuellar in the person of Jessica Cisneros, a young human rights lawyer with a history of defending immigrants. The daughter of Mexican immigrants, she was born and raised in Laredo, the main population center in the strongly Democratic South Texas district. If Cisneros defeats the well-funded Cuellar in the primary, the squad of House progressives would gain an exciting new member. Insurgent progressives need a lot more allies elected to Congress, as well as colleagues who feel rising heat from the left in their districts. That will require social movements strong enough to sway mainstream entrenched Democrats with the capacity to primary them when necessary. Wow. Yeah, the headline to the article reads this: Progressives can't play nice with Democrats anymore. If you want a good example of progressives not playing nice with Democrats, all you got to do is go back into the archives of this very show. You want a blueprint to not be nice to centrist Democrats anymore? Listen to this show. You'll have your blueprint.
We were on record, years and years of it. Darren, he's talking about the monies taken from these candidates from the corporate world. And that's the honey route, that's the sugar daddy route that has kept our democracy pent up for years. And now we see it manifested in the debate that took place here hours ago, actually, over the environmental debate, that which is so hard for the DNC to even to allow, where our man Biden was put on the hot seat. And it's the same scenario as what you've been just talking about. And progressives need to see the difference between a real progressive named Sanders and the fall progressives named Biden and the other 19 dwarfs that were on the stage. Okay? Isaac Larkin is a biologist, a doctor of, I don't even know the title. He's a phenom, okay? Isaac Larkin was from a university, and I don't even have the record, I'm sorry, but I do have his name, and I heard it verbatim. He asked Biden about the fundraiser that Biden was about to attend on Thursday at the home of Andrew Goldman, the co-founder of Western LNG. Now, what is Western LNG? Well, it is the number one exporter of liquefied gas, which is a fossil fuel, right? Responsible for worsening our climate. Nobody will doubt that. But somehow, when Biden was asked, why are you going to go to this fundraiser? It brought up, I guess, his age and his forgetfulness, because he had no understanding that Goldman was an executive with the fossil fuel industry, okay? And what's so peculiar about this, I guess Biden also forgot that he signed a no fossil fuel money pledge, not to take over $200 from oil, gas, coal, executives, lobbyists, PACs, and was supposed to, according to the pledge, put his emphasis on prioritizing the health of our families, the climate, and democracy, all of which the fossil fuel industry is anathema. Okay, our profits for the pharmacies and the fuel industries are astronomical, and they got plenty of money to stuff in old Joe's pocket. They must have accidentally hit him in the face because he had a red eye sitting up there on the stage while he was trying to explain going to this fundraiser. And, not that has anything to do with his ties to the corporate world, but man, was he caught. He was caught, and then he had to stare into the face of America again with a half-ass excuse. Listen, fossil fuel money has corrupted our politics for decades. Goldman was a senior advisor for guess who? Biden. This oil executive was a senior advisor for Biden when he was in the Senate. It's incredible.
Jack, I just saw a story earlier this week that a Department of Interior official is leaving to take a job, I believe, for an oil company.
Yeah, I saw that too. No surprise there.
I mean, it's crazy.
It is. And Biden, this was Biden's excuse. He said, well, technically, I don't know if he's an executive. Well, here's what he failed to admit. A leading news source released that this Goldman has ties to this company described, which as a long-term investor of the liquefied natural gas sector, he alone was the founder and co-founder, of the company that is the number one exporter of liquefied gas. And Biden didn't know he had anything to do with a fossil fuel company.
Oh,
what do you think he was? A community organizer in Chicago? What do you think he was? A pink hat?
I don't think he cared. I think he just saw the green and said, "Oh, thank you. I'll take that." Because that's really how they are. They don't care where the money's coming from, just so long as they're getting it.
And that's what Uncle Joe and all of the Democratic Party manifest. That's what came out on the stage. And you're going to tell me that CNBC is going to promote Biden as the number one candidate in the polls? No way. There's no way. It's a lie. You heard three visions on the stage up there. The one was Biden's, which I'm not even going to go through again.
Mm-hmm.
Then you heard the other watered-down candidates. You had one guy there say we need to tackle the corporate influence on politics, and we know who he was.
Bernie Sanders.
Yep.
Because he's always the same one that seeks out and tells the truth about the injustices in this country and around the world, quite truthfully.
Yeah, I got a question for you. Is the environment and the climate change and the fossil fuel industry, does it have anything to do with the strongest hurricane to ever hit the Bahamas? A Category 5, yes, folks, unlike Trump, I'm going to tell you, we do have Category 5 hurricanes. They're not rare. They've been around for a while. Trump has said this week that he's never heard of Category 5 hurricane. Doesn't know what it is. Has no idea what the hell it is.
Yeah.
You have to wonder, a man who will stand in front of the country and swear that this hurricane has a direct path and going to hit Alabama. When the Weather Service, the Federal Weather Service came out and said, no, folks, there's no danger in Alabama. Do not listen to your president. Do not listen to the commander-in-chief, the guy who's got his button under his pillow for the destruction of the world, who doesn't even know or agree with the weather forecast. You got nothing to worry about. There is, maybe he listened to that song, the classic American song, Darren, "Oh Susanna." Doesn't it say in "Oh Susanna," the guy from Alabama with the banjo on his knee, that it rained so hard last night or something he couldn't sleep?
Yep.
I have no idea where he got his information that this hurricane was going to hit Alabama. Do we have to make... he tweeted. Trump tweeted.
He probably... Here's a version of Trump's forecast. He sticks his finger in his mouth, gets it all wet, and sticks it up in the air. That's the Trump weather forecast. It certainly is. Feels like rain in Alabama. Must be a hurricane.
Trump was asked about the climate change. This is just recently. This is out in front of the White House. And he said, hey, this was his answer. They wanted to respond to climate change. And he said, we have tremendous wealth here in America under our feet. This is verbatim.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I have brought it to life. That was his response to climate change. That was his answer. Kind of like Pence's answer when he was asked, do you find anything improper about staying at one of Trump's properties in Ireland where you were sent in place of Trump? The tune, I don't know how many hundred thousands of dollars for his entourage to stay at a castle or one of Trump's buildings in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, what do you think of this? This is on taxpayers' dime.
Yeah.
Pence said, I say this word for word, he said, it's great to be here in Ireland again.
Oh, brother.
Trump asked about climate change. He says, we live in the wealthiest nation. And like a prospector, we got gold under our feet. I'm going to get it out there. Wait a second. Did you hear the word climate change?
No, they don't hear it. They're just in it for the money at any cost. And speaking of which, I want to move on to this. This is an article that you put me in touch with. It's an opinion piece written for TruthDig back in July of 2018 by Lee Camp. The headline reads, American society would collapse if it weren't for these 8 myths. And we don't have time to go through the entire article, so we're just going to read the myths from reverse order, starting with number 8. and we're going to do the countdown just like Casey Kasem did on American Top 40.